All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Game and Compute. Here on this podcast, we talk about the economy and finances and side hustles and careers. Today, I was wanting to talk some about driving, delivery. So, some things I've been kind of curious about because, I'm kind of I'm not really all over the place with this, but I'm kind of interested in an update on some of the types of side hustles that I've looked at before, either during kind of the heat of the pandemic or, before, in 2019 and in very early 2020, before the Rona hit. So, or at least before the Rona, started, there were policies starting to come in place because of it. I guess it had already hit before that. But, I was thinking about, Uber Eats, those types of deliveries, not necessarily the in-store shopping. So there are deliveries that are kind of you get an app, you create a side hustle, and that's, you get the app and you start, your own profile, and then that's your side hustle, and you kind of just use it to make funds, doing the deliveries overall, So there are multiple apps like that. Uber Eats, Postmates, Grubhub. Those are pretty popular ones. There are others too, but those are probably some of the popular ones that people drive for. Then you have the grocery delivery, like the Instacart or Shipt. And then you have other types of delivery, like Amazon related, where you're working for the actual company. You have other types of delivery depending what state you stay in, like cannabis delivery, that type of stuff, or other types of just kind of low-key delivery types of stuff. But I was noticing specifically more with Uber Eats, trying to look in my main city, what it looks like what people are saying about it now. And so the general consensus that was pretty surprising to me is that the profit margins aren't really all that high all the time. It doesn't seem like what it used to be. And there are definitely things contributing to this that are obvious things, but it also seems that there are some complications with some maybe app related issues as well. So one thing I was kind of noticing, of course, the gas prices are high, right? Of course the gas prices are high. They've dropped a little, but not that much. They're still higher than they were anytime within the last within my lifetime, actually. I think there was one time when in LA gas was almost $5 or so. $5. It was just below $5, and then some places right by freeways or Beverly Hills and stuff like that would be maybe a little over $5, a couple cents over $5. But that was a while back. I don't recall when, but I wasn't living in San Diego yet, so it must have been a while back. But yeah, I think that is something that's definitely going to contribute, as well as, depending where you live too, the market for drivers might be saturated a little bit. I'm kind of thinking that because, the gig economy is a lot more popular when, people are trying to make an extra buck, when people are kind of like struggling with their income, when people are like just trying to make ends meet, or when they're just trying to find, like a transitional job option. I feel like there are probably more drivers on the road now for delivery than there were in like 2019 or so. And so, if there are more drivers, that means you're going to get less orders, right? And then with the way inflation works and everything, when you think about it, like, yes, the prices for food are high, so the prices for the meals are high, but also all the charges increasing makes it so that the actual customer that's purchasing is going to have to spend more on delivery fees. The delivery fee for like that $1, $2, $3 or whatever goes up for them. It's a little high. Like, you can still kind of get free delivery, but you have to be strategic about it. If you're just randomly needing food like now and you want to get a burger, like, it kind of depends when it is. Like, if you're kind of strategic about it, and or can kind of wait, or like don't really care what food, if you're going, like, say if you're the customer and you're searching for specifically something that's close by, that's within a certain price range, under like $20 or so, and then has no delivery, and then that would mean that your tip and everything would be so much lower, so overall you'd be paying less. But if you think about it, if the customers are also struggling financially, and they're being charged more with a delivery fee more often, or a higher delivery fee, and then higher prices of the food, then, I was saying before, I've rarely purchased an Uber Eats lately where I didn't pay $25, maybe even more, but that's including, like, I think that's before tip, because then usually I tip like 20%, so that's at least $5 of a tip. So usually I'm paying between $25 and $30. I don't remember the last time I ever had an order that was under $20 after the fees and everything. Like, it adds up. And so if you think of it, that's a lot of money. Like, if I'm getting a burger or like a burrito or something, and it's like a $25 to $30 burrito, I'm not going to be ordering that much. And so, and I think that's what happens too. The customer orders are slowing down because nobody really has that kind of money. It's like, I have frozen food and stuff options where I'm like, dude, in the time that I throw like a veggie burger in the oven with some, sweet potato fries, like I just did like right before I started recording this, it's like I can order, veggie grill. It's going to take them 25 to probably closer to 45 minutes to get the food to me, and I'm going to have to pay almost 25 to 30 bucks for that when I have it all ready in the house, and that's just quick. Like, it's the same amount of time pretty much, even without preheating the oven. I just put it to 425 and just stuck everything on the pan rack, and basically within 25 minutes my meal was done. I just had to like cut some tomatoes and get some pickles and like, the little condiments and stuff. But I mean, that's probably faster, if not the same amount of time it would have taken to order something similar. And it's not that much time. Like, throwing something in the oven like that is not that much time. And so, if it's someone like me who's doing that too, I'm pretty sure, I'm not saying someone like me, like, I'm not like rolling in it, not like that, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm just like an average Joe, making decisions like that, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, that's just like, I was thinking about it. I was like, I could go drive and get some fast food. I'm like, yeah, but it's really crappy food, like, and it's expensive. Like, I'm not trying to spend like $10 at Taco Bell or McDonald's. And then I was like, I'm not trying to spend 25 to 30 bucks on Uber Eats, and I just looked in the freezer and I was like, oh, we got like everything in here. And so I just basically just threw it in the oven. And so, I made a perfect little meal combo for myself with some, with some food that was kind of freshly made overall, just a lot of high salt, a lot of it wasn't naturally fresh made right now, it's high salt, it's a little processed, it's a little um like baked, like oily, kind of like it's baked, but it's like you know um it's kind of like pre-made food kind of, so it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like like quality wise, Veggie Grill is better, but I was like, dude, the price, I'd rather just eat my Morningstar garden burgers, like at this point, and especially because it was like the same amount of time, and you can kind of multitask with something in the oven. It's only like 25 minutes or something. It's not that long. So, if on the customer end, if people like me are making those decisions too, and you think there's more drivers, fighting for the same fewer people that are ordering, then they're not going to be getting paid that much. The fees are less, not the fees, but the income that they make is maybe like $2 to $3 to $4, maybe $2 to $3, it seems like, before tip. And then you have to factor in gas prices. So the way I factor in gas prices, I do like an estimate. I always kind of like increase it a little bit. So I say like right now, like gas is probably like $5.50, but I choose like what's the more expensive. So I'd probably say closer to $6. Honestly, I'd probably just round it up, because then you can kind of like account a little bit more for like more time. And so if my car, for example, it gets a little over 20 miles to the gallon, it's really not a good gas mileage at all. It's old. It's like over 20 years old, so I'm not gonna complain. But I say like 20 miles to the gallon for what, so every 20 miles, that's gonna cost me $6 approximately, right? And I mean, there's some little wiggle room in there, but like a few cents, up to like an extra dollar, maybe $2 difference, right? So it's not like it's like $10-$20 difference. So like maybe within a $2 fluctuation. So if you say like 20 and then 6, that means I can drive 20 miles and have to spend $6 every 20 miles I drive. And I can calculate what that radius will look like, maybe from the house or from like a central location. And mind you, if I'm in LA, I mean, like, we know LA has traffic. It's not like it's not known to the whole entire world. So you take something like that, and then you think about, okay, if I were a driver, and I'm ordering Uber, I'm doing Uber Eats delivery, and I'm gonna make $2 off of $2, maybe $3, and who knows if they're gonna tip if they don't put it first. It seems like people don't tip as often or don't tip as high, because they don't have any money, and so, or because they're just trying to hold on to money, and not really be like so generous giving away. Like I said, I will tip at least 20%, and that means that's the bare bones minimum. Usually I'll give an extra buck if it's like maybe an extra buck or two. If I just got paid or something, I'll probably give an extra $5, in all honesty, because it's like, I'm not ordering that much that often, and they're doing me a solid. If they get my order there early, or if there's something like extra special that they add, like I don't mind giving like $5, $6-7 extra on top of the 20% tip. I mean, like, I know it's a lot of extra money, but it's like, if they make an extra $10 from me or something, it's really not that much money. When you think of it, it's not that much money that you're giving them, even though, it does add up. But if they're making $2 or $3, and then you think of all the people who probably aren't tipping, or aren't even minimally tipping, or are tipping less, and the fact that the drivers aren't really even getting as many orders as they were before, like, it's a little bit harder of a situation for everybody now. And so that's kind of like the dynamic that I'm kind of seeing come up. You have all these kind of factors impacting each other, and this is just the stuff that's kind of on the surface. Like, The stuff that I've heard from like the drivers, what they kind of say is more so like, they have to decline orders, and not accept them, because it's like, okay, am I really gonna drive 45 minutes, in one direction? Am I gonna, or like maybe it would be round trip, I don't know, but it's like 45 minutes, that's equivalent to like, I don't know, like by LA standards, 45 minutes isn't that far. Like you can't really judge the distance, but it's like, I would say, uh, probably like 20 miles ish, 20 miles. So that's already $6 you're spending out of your pocket with the gas to go 45 minutes, which is about 20 miles, to get $2 to $3 or so, and then maybe, whatever the person paid. Like say if they had like a minimal type of order, like I was saying, I rarely get an order that comes out to less than $25, $20 to $25. And so if they're tipping 20% on $25, that's $5. So you make $7 to $8, and then you spend $6. So, that's in 45 minutes, and that's if you're getting back to back to back to back to back. And so it actually helps. Obviously, it's gonna help if things are closer by, and it's gonna help if you're getting back to back orders, because it's like, yeah, if you make $2 to $3 to $5 or even $10, but you're not getting $10 every hour, then you're really not making that much money. And then, eventually that comes out to like wear on the car. You're going to have to get oil faster because you're putting more mileage on your car. You're going to have to, get your car serviced a little bit more often than if you were just driving it to and from work once a day, for like maybe like a 20 to 30 minute drive one way and then 20 to 30 minutes home. I don't think most people drive like an hour to work or 45 minutes in different states. I think in LA, it's not uncommon to be driving like 90 minutes one way to work. Like if you're driving like 30 to 40 miles during rush hour, it's usually going to take you, usually you get a bit of a buffer. If you leave like 2 hours in advance, you'll usually get where you need to go like maybe 30 minutes early. But usually for myself, I would give myself that kind of buffer. Is like 2 hours. And so like, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, right? It's like you're only going 30 miles. I think from here, like downtown LA is maybe 30 miles for me, maybe 35 miles. I think like Anaheim is maybe like 40, Irvine or something is maybe like 45 miles. And so it's like, yeah, I would usually leave 2 hours in advance so that I can be early, because then you still have to factor in, you have to drive around and find some parking, and then you got to pay for the parking, and then you got to walk from wherever you park to wherever you're going. Like that's at least going to take 5 minutes, if not, almost 10 minutes sometimes, and then you're only like 15 to 20 minutes, or like you're only like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes early. I'd rather be 25 minutes early than like 45 minutes late. So, yeah, and, so that kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't really know if it's really all that, easy to just pick delivery type work. I don't have all the details about the store, grocery shopping, but, the thing that I do appreciate about apps like Shipt and Instacart is, at least with Shipt, I know you could see what's coming up when. Like, you could see, like, how much you're going to approximately make, about how far you have to drive to go to the place, and then about how many items you need to pick up, and about what time the delivery needs to be done. So you can kind of plan in advance and just, like, accept orders in advance of people who put their shopping list on there earlier. And you can kind of plan that way. So if you're going to make like $15 and then like within like this hour, and then a couple hours later you're gonna make like, another $15 or something. Like you can kind of at least plan your day if you had other stuff that you need to do to make money in between or whatever that looks like. You'd have other stuff that you could figure out how to do. The issue with these types of jobs is that they're not as predictable. And there's always peak hours for everything, but they're not as predictable. And as the economy changes, of course everything's going to change, but there was a time when this type of work was like quite lucrative. And I kind of think it might depend where you live. It might depend on the situations. I know people who drive in like Beverly Hills and like Laguna and stuff like that. Like they might have a different experience than somebody driving in like, San Bernardino or like some other area that's like, a little bit of a different type of place. And so, it's going to be it does vary, and also I'm talking from the perspective of one of the larger cities, with one of the highest costs of living. I mean, everywhere is affected. It kind of, in a way, almost doesn't matter what the cost of living is, because it kind of all looks the same, in all honesty. But we don't have certain things over here like other states have, like we don't have, like, yeah, the cost of living is high, very high, but we don't have things like in winter you have to have like heating or your pipes freezing and stuff like that. Like we don't have like snow days and like weather problems like that, like that impact you maybe getting to work and stuff. Like we don't really have weather, other than nice weather mostly almost all the time. Thank the Lord for this. Think every universal thing that exists that's good, like I praise everything for the good weather, like that actually does, our cost of living is high, but we don't have, to have like certain things. Even like if you think about AC and heating, I'm talking about more like the coastal cities, maybe a little more inland. You might need a little bit more like AC in the summers, but like, because the weather does get like up to like the 90s, and like on occasion you can get weather in like the 90s, 80s, and that's pretty hot, but that's not all year. That's really just summer usually, and then a couple days here and there randomly in the year it'll be like that. And so having good weather actually is one of those things that kind of, if you have to turn off the AC and heating or whatever, you can. Like you're not gonna risk your life, as far as like your own health. In some states, if you don't have heating, you might be at some really high risk, or AC, if it's like, say, Vegas or somewhere where it's like 100 something degrees, like you kind of can't just be like, let me open a window. Out here it's like, yeah, let me open a window, and then you just like, if you're, on a weekend or something at home by yourself or whatever, you don't really need to wear clothes, and just a window open with, minimal clothing, just like maybe a tank top and some underwear or something, you're fine. Like you're not gonna really need to, suffer. And it's usually a couple hours of the day, and then the weather kind of is good early morning, good in the evenings. And so, yeah, we usually don't have the weather issue. I know this is like way off point, but it's just like there's stuff like that you think about that's like, yeah, we have high, like it doesn't add up. It doesn't all add up. I'm just saying like there are things that we don't have to deal with at all. Like we have higher taxes than a lot of places. We have higher traffic than a lot of places. We have very high cost of housing, but then also like our minimum wage is pretty, like high, and pay rates, I mean, they are pretty high in all honesty, and job opportunities are pretty, there's a variety of jobs. Like there's companies, businesses, if you live in a rural area, you might not have that many options for jobs within a drivable distance. If you don't have a car, you might not really have, very many options other than to work to where you can walk or get on a bus or whatever. So a lot of these factors do come into play when it even comes to something as simple as like driving Uber Eats or whatever. It's just kind of like, You just kind of have to know kind of what things impact these types of jobs in your area, or is there an area that's near enough to you where the opportunity would be better if you were going to choose to do this driving. It's not no money. It really isn't no money at all. Like it's better, like one of these guys was saying, like, it's better than sitting on the couch. Like if you're already out, especially, it's kind of like maybe you can make some of your money back on the gas that you spent to go run an errand if you just happen to like pick up something on the way. And then people do make a living off of it too. Like I have plenty of friends that drive Instacart and other food delivery type of things. But I think usually where I hear people making more money tends to be like driving Uber, like to take people from place to place. And then it seems like the hard part of that, I mean, there's hard parts to everything, but it seems like the hard part to that is that you need like an updated enough car. You can't have a 2-door. There's like certain like regulations where you have to have it inspected, and it has to pass inspections and things like that, so you can actually drive people. Me and my my 20-year-old car, I can't be driving people around. I don't even know sometimes if I can drive myself around, in all honesty. I think usually it's the driving between San Diego and LA that really gets the because it's an old car, taking it like 100 miles one way and then 100 miles the other way, like every few weeks or so, like that is very wearing on a car that I hardly use because I work remotely. So it's kind of like I don't use it for a long time, and then I use it like pretty heavy for like a weekend or something. And then so I think with the age and everything, that really contributes. But yeah, there are options like these things I've mentioned, but just those are the types of things I would say take into account before jumping into something. Kind of test it out. I always believe in doing a pilot test of everything. If you have that luxury and you're not just like, oh shoot, I literally will have no job by Monday, I need to like do something. Of course, if you need to just do something, but if you have a bit of a luxury, if you're like, I'm gonna quit my job, but I want to like see if delivery is gonna work out for me, you can kind of just do the delivery and just kind of do what you gotta do. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at a lot of the gig economy related types of hustles and seeing how they're changing. And this one was one that was a little surprising to me because I hadn't really heard a lot about it. And even when I just did a quick search on YouTube, it was hard to not hard, but like there wasn't a whole lot of very, very, very recent information about like people driving delivery. And I know the delivery drivers are out there, but it does just sound like because of everything going on, the saturated market and the cost of everything increasing really is making it a lot more challenging for the individual driver to, make a profit. But the profit is there, just the profit margins are maybe a little slim sometimes. But you might be able, if you're going to do it, you might be able to find some kind of like little fix to it, like driving peak hours or that kind of thing, or driving in certain areas where like maybe people don't have access to buses or something so easily, and you could just you have a car so you can drive from one place to the next. But yeah, and again, this is from the perspective of what I've been researching and from the perspective of what I've noticed in the city where I live, where I'm in LA. It might be different in Missouri in certain places. It might be different in Kentucky. It might be different in Alabama, like in different areas of these places. I even think about New York. It's like, geez, like with their cost of living out there, like, a couple bucks here and there, like how do you even afford rent with that? So it's kind of like, and they have like, in the city, they have like taxis and stuff like that. Like they have like other kind of options too. So it's kind of like every city's going to have their different kind of factors. I would just say the most important thing is to consider the factors and make for sure, none of that's really impacting too heavily for you to get what you need. So, but yeah, if you got to jump into something, it seems like there is quick money there. It's just, what's the profit margin really going to be? You got to consider your gas mileage, your gas prices, how much you're really going to be taking home. Like one guy was saying, it does seem like you're making about $7 an hour, which isn't no money, but it's like, yeah, that's really not a lot of money. And especially if you're waiting for like 45 minutes, 2 hours in between, like, it depends where you live. You might not be able to make that much money, but yeah, again, you can pilot test it for yourself if you're going to do it. And at least if you can get an estimate for how much you can make in a week and just kind of go from there, at least you'll know, versus like putting everything on the line and then just going into it without like actually knowing for yourself first. But yeah, I hope that's helpful for now. And yeah, guys, thanks for listening.